Russ Niles reporting for AvWeb from EAA AirVenture in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. We are at Oshkosh Live. We are live from the Redbird booth, and we got a fascinating first guest here today. Adrian Eichhorn, you may recall, is a circumnavigator and flew a polar flight as well. But along the way, he became friends with a Japanese pilot who shares similar goals and similar aspirations to him, but they forged a common bond over kind of a grim anniversary. This is the 80th anniversary of the dropping of the nuclear bomb on Hiroshima. And each have their thoughts and their beliefs and their attachment to that event as a milestone event in human history. And what's striking is that if these two people, a Japanese guy and an American guy who was also Bill Clinton's nuclear advisor, if 80 years later they can be fast friends, then maybe there's hope for this world after all. So Adrian, why don't you tell us about your event and what it signifies?
You bet, Russ. Thanks, and it's an honor to be here. Yeah, Chinzy and I met each other. He reached out to me when I got finished with my round-the-world flight, mentioned that he wanted to fly around the world. He started a nonprofit organization to promote the fact that handicapped people can achieve their goals. And he lost an eye in a motorcycle accident in Japan, couldn't fly in Japan, came to the United States, went to Embry-Riddle, got his ratings, now works for Boeing. He's up in Seattle. So he reached out looking for help and advice that he wanted to fly around the world. And when he first reached out to me, I said, well, Chinzy, what kind of airplane do you have? And he says, well, I don't have an airplane. And so I kind of blew him off at first because a lot of people were looking for time and stuff. And anyways, fast forward, he bought a P model Bonanza. It's about 5 months newer than mine. And I helped. I'd have layovers when I was flying for JetBlue in Seattle, and we'd go over position reports and the HF requirements and fuel and came really good friends. Then COVID came. I was planning my North Pole trip, and we finally said, we got to go. And we launched out of Virginia the same day. Went as far as Iceland. I went over the North Pole to Fairbanks, Alaska, and Chinzy went to Europe. So we've become super good friends. And we've talked about Hiroshima and Nagasaki. My father was in the Army, Air Corps, and then the Army during the war. And it's fascinating to me because when you think about it, on August 6th in 1945, and I think it was probably one of the most significant decisions, toughest decisions this country's ever had to make, that you think about the day after we bombed Japan, nobody probably ever thought that the United States and Japan would be allies and as strong partners as we are. So it's a significant event. So we're going to plan a Japanese-American friendship flight. We'll do a formation flight at Wendover Air Force Base in Utah because Wendover is where the crews of the Enola Gay and Boxcar trained, as well as almost all of the bombers. The first bombers that went to Europe flew out of Wendover. And it's a base that in 1946, they just closed the doors, walked away, and most of the facilities are still there. It's a fascinating place to visit because of the history. So it's this event, our commemorative flight, is to bring recognition to the fact that it's been 80 years since the dropping of the first bomb. Here's where the pilots trained. This is where they lived. These are the routes that they flew. These are the bombing ranges, and to video it from the air. And just bring recognition to the fact that it's now the anniversary of that. And, of course, the second bomb was on the 9th of August.
My birthday, actually.
Fantastic.
I remember Nagasaki every year. Is there any public participation in this? Can the public take part in any of the events? Well,
we're working on that. Not planning any big fanfare event, and I've talked with the curator of the museum there. We were reaching out to different networks to bring recognition to it because I personally think when I turn on Fox or CNN or anything, I'm sick and tired of it because it's the same thing every night. Republicans bashing Democrats bashing Republicans. And it's just, to me, this is kind of a good news story. It's a human interest story of two guys whose fathers, Chenzi's dad did not fight in the Japanese Defense Force, but I believe his uncle did. But now we're best of friends, and it's going to be kind of cool.
Well, I want to lean a little bit in on your experience in the nuclear world. My father was an officer in NORAD. So if I ever write a book, it's going to be called Growing Up at Ground Zero, because he was at all of the bases that had big targets on them, right?
Yep.
When you were a nuclear advisor to the president, it was 50 years on since Hiroshima. But wasn't it sort of relevant and present on your mind in everything that you did as a nuclear advisor? Look, we've done this once and we don't want to do it again.
Right. And I was there from 96 to 2000, and the plan that we had then, the unclassified plan, was called the SIOP, Single Integrated Operations Plan. And the whole foundation of the plan is to control escalation. When in the United States would not use nuclear weapons for first attempt, it was only retaliatory measures. So if we had indication of attack against North America, we would convene a strategic missile event conference, get certain people on the board, assess what was coming in, and then it was the SIOP advisors, which was, I was one of 5. We were on duty for 8 hours at the time, and make the recommendation to the president as to what option to use, because we were certified on the plan, and like all of the cabinet and government and military officers at that rank have so much responsibility. They don't need to know in all the intricacies of the plan. So the SIOP advisor would make the recommendation to the president, and it was simply your recommendation based on what was coming in. And the fascinating thing is he had 2 options, concur or non-concur. He couldn't say, well, Mr. Secretary of Defense, what do you think? Or National Security Advisor, what do you think? It was either you concur or non-concur. If he non-concurs, you terminate the conference and wait to see what happens. So pretty significant.
Pretty significant.
When you think about it.
Now, since the Berlin Wall came down, I believe my observation is that there's a lot less concern, a lot less chatter about the end of the world. That seems to be creeping back. How does this new generation cope with a nuclear threat that may be even worse than what we lived through?
Yeah, well, the Cold War is still alive and well. I don't think we need to worry about, well, it's such a crazy environment now, but for the longest time I thought we don't need to worry about the superpowers because they know the ramifications. They don't want to launch the nuclear weapons, and again, it can get out of hand in a heartbeat. But it's the rogue countries, the countries that may have nuclear capability, but they don't have the delivery systems, yes. For a nuclear weapon to be pretty effective, it's an airburst. It's a mile or so above the ground, so it's probably delivered by a bomber or a missile. And some of the countries that we're worried about don't have that capability, specifically the North Koreans. They've tried with their no-dong missiles and such, but they haven't been able to reach long targets. So it's a scary time. It's very fragile.
Yeah,
and
anything else would be sort of nuclear terrorism, right?
Right. And when I entered the Army back in 1980, the very first school I went to as an engineer officer was Atomic Demolitions Munitions School. We had tactical nukes. We had SATMs and MATMs. We had small nuclear weapons that we could jump out of airplanes with a parachute.
Oh, I want that job.
I know. So you go from that to strategic nukes. So the tactical nukes are pretty much all gone. So what you've got is the big weapons of mass destruction. And I hope we never see it because, and again, I think that's one of the importance of recognize an event like this and the significance that it was, I believe at the time, probably still the toughest decision this country's ever had to make because we had the technology, we hadn't used it, we didn't really know the ramifications, and you can go on into many discussions whether we should have picked those targets or not.
What difference does it make?
Right.
It's gonna be bad.
It's gonna be ugly.
Anyhow, it's been a pleasure to talk to you today, Adrian. I really hope your event goes well, and you'll send us lots of photos, and we'll
bet.
We'll get them up.